Hello everyone and welcome to His Author's Voice, and I am the author, Jack Sanger. I've entitled this podcast 80 is the New 50. Writing as a Longevity Pill. Okay, so now you are 80 in the land of diminishing returns. So many friends have taken leave by the wayside, and like part of an expedition into the unknown, beset by danger, you belong to a small remaining cohort, braving the hostile terrain ahead. To live a long and healthy life, one is supposed to have one's existence shored up by 5 essential pillars: diet, exercise, sociability, mental challenge, and purpose. But even then, there is a creeping assumption that once you've hit the 70 years and 10 mark, life becomes a roulette game with a horribly grinning fate turning the wheel. But whatever age we've reached, most of us are desperate for a bit more life. Unless illness, trauma, or extreme fatigue have taken us by the throat so that we feel forced to whisper, "Okay, I give in, take me." Assuming one does not want to be taken, how does one cross the dwindling tundra of the end game? At 80, I studiously attend to all the 5 pillars, but the latter 2, mental challenge and purpose, are handily conflated into one: creativity. I write, and therefore I am, and shall probably be so until the ... of my final sentence, of my final paragraph. I took a quick search of writers who are still in commission after their 80th birthday, and there are a few notable examples. One, Lorna Page, wrote a best-selling thriller, Dangerous Weakness, in her 90s and used the money to buy a big house, whereupon she invited people in from care homes to indulge in creative purpose, thrusting acquiescence to the Grim Reaper behind them. However, when I didn't include the number 80 in the search, Google was packed full of lists of aging writers, where the definition of aging seemed to be 50 years. This sums up the communally held view that you're getting towards the end of your productive life once you've reached late middle age. Publishers love young photogenic blood and seek out the latest literary stars with their twisty words and their tricky plots, biting hungrily into their soft, vulnerable necks to feed the blood-sucking needs of the fiction industry. There is also that cliche, most novelists have only one book in them. The notion that you might be someone like Edgar Wallace and knock out a book a week belongs to a parallel universe of pure fantasy. Still, the fact of the matter is that writing requires daily exercise to keep the creative muscle taut and strong. Fear not that psychological blocks will prevent the wannabe author in you from putting meaningful words on the page. Just write. Anything. A diary. A blog to yourself. A stream of unrefined consciousness. This very act, these days it's called journaling, of doing so is both therapeutic and practical. It is a clearing of the stream of consciousness each day of the weeds of historical baggage, to allow it to flow readily when you call upon it for a focused, creative endeavour. There is an adage I've used extensively elsewhere: you write yourself into knowledge. I had a full and relatively productive academic life, ending up as a professor and a director of a university research centre. Writing was my living, of course. Articles, reports, and books were part and parcel of the job. But at the same time, I spent spare hours, sometimes on trains, planes, and in hotels, writing novels, plays, and poetry. Today, all time is mine to have and to hold. The latest product of this disciplined daily routine is my book of short stories just published, called The Fortune Trader of Samarkand and Other Tales Through Time. A temporary valediction upon reaching my 80th year. The collection comes from a year and a half of podcasts of the short stories I buckled down to write every week. At the same time, I'm gradually blinking into the light, hibernated fiction that I've written across the decades, dressing it up in new clothes for public view. During a long life, different interests and challenges develop. I've often said that despite thinking the door is shut, along comes fate and opens it with a beckoning finger. Thus, I've written novels about social behaviour, detective fiction, philosophical fantasy, science fiction. I've published a book of aphorisms on Zen management, and have another ready to roll, shedding light on social conditioning and personal freedom. And I've written plays and poetry. The marker of these outputs across time is not that they've been accorded the reward of a critic's praise, but that they've opened up channels to personal understanding. This, I think, is the primary goal. You are your first reader. Later you can seek out the approbation of the masses. One must reframe fear of the blank page. It does not represent the tyranny of the unknown, but the seductive promise of the soon-to-be discovered. What each of us does with that page is unique. No two people have the same creative fingerprint. And as we exercise our imagination, the quality of our verse or prose may improve until we speak with unique voices. Then, along with the increasing quality in our artistic expression, comes something else. The cliched term for it is channeling. Like Carl Jung, I believe we're all a living expression and facet of something termed the universal unconscious. We are born from it and die back into it. Being creative enables us to establish living channels to it. The universal unconscious is the repository of all human experience, the past, present, and the future. The act of writing and of composing, painting, sculpting, and all the other realms of artistic expression can be elevated to a point where the writer becomes a conduit to that unconscious realm and draws from it lessons for us all to learn. This results in authors having what is called something to say. This is why I still write every day at 80. It makes me feel a part of the complex interplay between the daily reality of the failing body and the magical, mysterious vastness of universal unconscious. It's my job, and I love it. Well, I hope I've been persuasive enough for you, particularly the older viewer, to try it. You will enter a garden of delights if you are prepared for the long haul. It has to become a way of life. So let me finish with, a bit of advertising. You can find my novels and collections on Amazon Books, usually through your country's Amazon link. British readers go to amazon.co.uk, for example. My name is Jack Sanger, as you know. As I speak, I've so far uploaded The Fortune Teller of Samarkand, collection of cryptic tales across time from 40,000 years ago to 40,000 years in the future. Hot Flushes, a comedy of pre-millennium manners where four husbands embark upon affairs to revive their marital relations. They think. Edward Teddyboy Silver, Master of Chaos, a modern Marlowe-type thriller full of twists, turns, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And The Loan Shark and the Scent of Prey, a dystopian climate thriller with an imperious female assassin. And in the next week or so, I'll add The Mental Traveller and The Second Birth of Agnès Banshin. And there will be more after that. So, that's me for now. It'd be great if you try one or two of them and you leave reviews. That is writing too, of course. Meanwhile, pull out a ream of paper and dip your quill in some ink. Thank you.